So we just had our free trial of Gambit. It's a really cool mode, but it's also quite complicated. So let old FB hit you with a few tips for the Gambit playlist. What's going on? This is Everybody's Live, and today we're going to be breaking down a couple of Gambit tips to help you succeed in the Gambit playlist. So without further ado, let's go on and jump into this thing. So number one, this is a very team-oriented game mode. This is not something you're going to be able to go into as a solo player and expect to do well. Sure, if you match with a bunch of randoms, that's going to be great, and you're probably going to have a good time. But in my experience, I was matching with a ton of 4 stacks, and if you don't have at least 2 or 3 or even a full team, it's going to be a rough go for you. So I would highly suggest you play with a team. Moving on to tip number 2. What kind of classes do you need to run, and what kind of guns do you need to run for Gambit? At least at the moment in the trial we played, without seeing the new supers and all the new guns and everything with Forsaken. But for right now, I would run 2 tethers, 1 hammer, and 1 golden gun. And here's why. 2 tethers, they're going to be great for PvE ad clear, and you're going to make a ton of orbs for the other 2 guys, the hammer and the golden gun. The hammers. Hammers is a great super all around for pretty much anything. PvE, good for clearing waves out, good for invading, melting point for bosses, and you got your rally barricade, which is also good for DPS and whatever ads or the boss. Last but not least, golden gun. You're going to use your golden gun hunter as your invader. If you have somebody on your team that likes to play golden gun, like I do, this person needs to be the invader. Golden gun is sick nasty for invading. The cross map capabilities of golden gun is an insta kill. It's gonna do work. So what guns do you need to run? What I would suggest for your 3 PvE players not invading. I love Midnight Coup, so that's what I run in the primary slot. For secondary, I would go EP shotgun. It does work. It still does work. For your heavy, I would go with Whisper, if you have Whisper, or if you're the invader, I'd go Sleeper Stimulant. Sleeper Stimulant is disgusting when you are invading or being invaded because of its one-shot capabilities to the body from across the map, and it's easy to aim. So that's what I'd roll with as far as classes and weapons go. Tip number 3. Prioritize your motes, and what I mean by that is pay attention to how many motes you have versus your team. This is a communist country over here in Gambit land. Everybody needs to have roughly the same amount of motes. You don't need Joe Blow having 8 and then Bobby having 2. That doesn't do you a whole lot of good because you can only summon 1 blocker instead of having 5 and 5 and getting 2 blockers. So pay attention to how much you have. If you have 7 or 8 motes or 6 and your boy over there has only got 3 or 4, don't run over that mote. Let him have it instead, and that way you can get 2 blockers instead of just 1 blocker. I know that's kind of difficult because you're in a rush for one. You're just grabbing whatever you can grab, but try to plan that out if possible. And with a coordinated team, this is not that hard. So always try to prioritize who's got what, so that way you can summon your blockers more efficiently. Moving on to number 4. It is a race to 25 motes. What I mean by that is you need to bank 25 motes before the enemy team does. At 25, you can send one of your boys over there to break some thumbs on the enemy team. So you need to pay attention to the gray bars on your team versus their team. If it looks like they're blowing you away in mote collection, you need to go ahead and bank early because they're going to do the same to you. They're going to summon blockers, they're going to invade and beat your ass, and you're going to lose a bunch of motes. Don't do that. This game is all about minimizing risk. Pay attention to how you're doing versus them. If you're blowing them away, get 25, bank, invade. If not, minimize the risk. Go ahead and deposit what you have just in case they invade and they kill you. Carrying over from the previous tip, I would not hold more than 10 motes at a time. You get to 10 motes, you need to bank. At 10 motes, you get a Taken Knight. At 15 motes, you get a Taken Ogre. There is not much difference between the two. Any of those blockers you're going to be able to kill fairly quickly. So to me, there's just not much in the way of risk reward versus getting an Ogre versus getting a Knight. Bank the 10, get the Knight, because if you're carrying 15 and some badass PvP player comes in there with a golden gun or a sleeper and smacks you in the mouth, you're going to lose 15 and you're probably going to cost the team the round. Don't walk around with 15. I lost so many games playing with randoms that were carrying around more than 10 motes when they should have banked, and the invader comes in and you get smacked in the mouth and then you lose the round. Let's switch gears here for a second and actually talk about invading. So, before you invade, for the love of God, please deposit your motes. Do not invade with motes. If you die, you'll lose them. Your team will hate you, and I will hate you more because I told you not to do it. So, bank your motes. Pull the heavy that spawns near the bank. You're going to need it. You probably will not have a super if you invade right at 25 motes. So, you get in the portal. What do you need to do? Scan your surroundings. It tells you where the entire enemy team is, as well as how many motes they're carrying. So you see old Billy Bob over there with 15 motes. He's dildoing around trying to fight the blockers so he can deposit those 15 motes. You probably need to go for him. But with that said, be very careful. His teammates may be on the left or right of you, and you get tunnel vision, and you're going for Billy Bob, and then they snipe you out of the air. So always pay attention to where everybody's at and try to use cover. Use sleeper or use a high impact sniper and pick at people from distance. You stick out like a sore thumb. You're glowing red. So if you're out in the open, they're going to notice you, I promise. Let's talk about the flip side of that coin and what you need to do if you are invaded. So I've got a few tips for this, and I'm probably going to just roll them all together here. But first thing that you should do when you hear enemy portal is open for invasion. How many motes are you carrying at the moment? I mean, if you're not carrying any motes, it's really not that big of a deal. If you're not carrying any motes, you definitely need to go over there and try to kill any blockers that are available. So if maybe if your other teammates are carrying motes, you can go ahead and clear those blockers, and maybe they can go ahead and deposit. It just depends on how many blockers there are. You dying with no motes is really not a big deal. All that's going to set you back is a respawn timer. That's no big deal. If you are carrying a ton of motes and you get invaded, this is where it can be very dangerous. So as soon as you hear enemy portal is open for invasion, you've got a little bit of time before that invader gets there and can take a shot at you. So if they've only got like one blocker out on you, maybe two, and your team is together on the bank, y'all can probably clear those blockers within 2 or 3 seconds and go ahead and bank your motes. Now, if they're a good team and they've summoned 3-4 large blockers, you're going to have a rough time, and the best thing that you can do is just hide from that invader. So I think it's good for other people, like other players in the team, to invade, because you can kind of see where you'll spawn in as an invader. There's only a few different spawns as the invader, and if you're invading a lot, you can kind of familiarize yourself with where people are when they invade, so that way it helps you when you get invaded yourself. So they're either going to be on the left or the right side. I think you can spawn in the middle. I don't remember at this point if you can spawn in the middle or not. But it's either the far right, the far left, or in the back middle. So and the invader is most likely not going to spawn on top of you. Notice that too. So if your whole team's on the right side, he's either going to be in the middle or he's going to be on the far left. So that's the direction you need to be looking at. So hide. Try to find where he is and just wait him out the best you can. The ball is in his court. He's got to press you. He's on time restrictions here. He's got 30 seconds. He's going to have to try to make a play. What you want to do is have him make a stupid play, like coming out in the open, and get team shotted by all your people, if possible. If you've got 15 motes, the best thing you can do is just not even peek, honestly, unless the dude's totally facing the opposite direction of you and you know that he's not going to take a shot at you. Final tips for this video are going to be all about what happens when the primeval is summoned, either on your team or the enemy team. So you got your 75 motes, and you bank that and you summon your primeval. With the primeval is going to come a bunch of adds. Left and right is going to be a bunch of snipers, and in the middle there's going to be some wizards and other adds. What you need to do is kill all of these adds before you damage the boss. You're going to waste your time if you damage the boss and then somebody invades, and then you've got all these adds to deal with. You got the boss and you got an invader. You can't possibly handle all this stuff at once. So get all your adds out of the way first, and then primary the boss down. Don't even use heavy yet, because you got an invader that's going to be coming along. You don't want to waste all your heavy. The invader get there, wipe your team, and heal them right back up. You've wasted heavy and time and everything else because the invader came in and wiped you. So kill your adds, primary the boss down, just take a little health off just to kill some time. Invader comes in, either hide, wait him out, kill him, whatever you want to do. Once he's out of the way, you're going to have a small window of time to where really nothing's going to be in your way from you DPSing the boss. At this point, you need to hit the boss with everything you got and try to melt him immediately to take the round. Rally Barricade, Melting Point, Whisper, Sleeper, whatever you got to damage that boss, go melt him. On the flip side, if the enemy team summons their primeval roughly the same time as you, and both of you got your primevals out, your invasion portal is going to be open. I would not invade immediately if both of the primevals are out. If you invade, and let's say you kill a few of them, all you're really going to be setting them back is time. There's an 8-second respawn timer, so you're going to set them back 8 seconds. That's really not that big of a deal. Because you've taken yourself away from your team where you could have been helping kill ads or damage your boss or whatever, to go and kill some of their players for not much reward. The risk reward is just not there. A better play, in my opinion, help your team, try to burn your boss down, whatever you got to do, and then once you see the enemy team starting to work on the primeval, maybe you start seeing them chip away his health, that's when you go invade. That's when you need to help your team out, and by killing their players to heal the enemy primeval back up. That to me is a much smarter move than invading early on. So that's going to be all for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Leave a like, subscribe. We're going to do some more videos on Forsaken content and more Gambit videos and whatnot. Appreciate you guys watching. I'm FID's Live, and I'm out.